I am Jimbo Paris, and you are listening to The Jimbo Paris Show. All right. How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to The Jimbo Paris Show. Today we have Carolyn Deck. She's a wife, mother of 5 kids, a travel agent, an author. So she has a whole plethora of things that she does. She's a very interesting woman. You know, she's worked in the children's leadership program. She's done a lot of big and I sort of want to hear about her story, how she managed to have 5 kids while still being author. She did a lot of stuff. And, you know, I want to get to know her a little bit better. So, yeah, let's bring on Mrs. Deck here.
Hi.
How's it going?
Oh, hi. Lovely to meet you. This is great.
Yeah, you know, the privilege is really all mine here because I was so fortunate to have you on this show. And, you know, can you kind of get into a bit of how you traveled over to 30 different countries? Maybe
yeah, sure. Sure. Well, as you can tell, I am a little further south than Miami. My homeland was New Zealand. I think travel, rather, was in my blood. My dad loved to travel. And I guess, sadly, I've been traveling. That's the theme of my life, I've identified. And I traveled out of, sadly, a dysfunctional family, and then traveled into living with my sister and her husband. And then that took me traveling to living in America as an exchange student. I was in Kansas for a year, which was amazing. Taught me what family life truly looked like. It was a beautiful thing. I traveled back home, and then lo and behold, I ended up a travel agent. Yeah, that's just taken me on this journey, really. You know, with work, we have to travel. We want to be authentic and tell our customers, oh, you know, you go to Paris, I suggest you go here, or, you know, when in London, or, you know, pick a country. So then years on, I found myself taking leave from work, but my boss wanted me back, so he gave me 6 months leave of absence, which changed the dynamic. I ended up then able to apply for a travel agent discount with airlines, with tour operators, etc. So I fell into the niche market of adventure travel, which, oh my goodness, I traveled on my own, and I really wanted to go to the Holy Lands, actually. I was raised in a Christian family, albeit that, you know, broken people come together, get married, doesn't make things perfect. So, and sadly, it wasn't, and things didn't go so well. But I still had my faith, and I wanted to explore those ancient lands. And so I did, and it was incredible. I had a passion as a little girl from buying picture books when for my birthday. I got money, and I just loved Africa. So that was the next list. I did an overland from Kenya down to Harare, and then went into Botswana. And yeah, I just traveled through Africa. Incredible. And then my long-term boyfriend met me, and we got engaged. And funnily enough, though, his father was one of my clients at work, a corporate customer of ours. So I'd known him and his dad and the family for some years. So that's how it sort of all began.
Interesting. And one thing that's standing out to me is to the right of you, I see this book. Okay, yeah. You have it nicely propped up there. What is that? Can you go into...
Okay. This is my just recently published book. It's called Above the Turbulence, Your Ticket Out of Pain to Purpose. So that really summarizes what you're going to get in here. It is written as a travel agent, and it talks about the turbulence of life, actually, and how do we cope with that? How do we cope in life with the changes that have been thrown at us, then choices? It's tough. Life is tough. And the Lord actually brought me to writing this book about 6 years ago. It took some time to process that whole concept of me writing, because I am now an author now, but I never perceived myself in that vein. I never went to college, you know, never graduated. I just threw myself into work. And some of that is actually what I talk about, is our perceptions of who we are, our trials. We can see ourselves as victims. We can find ourselves listening to the lies of either our own narrative in our head that's going round in circles, right? We talk to ourselves all the time and rely incessantly as to, all sorts of things, sadly. And from there, we make choices, and then here lie the outcomes and the consequences. And it was an incredible process of going through the journey of life through the lens of me being a travel agent, but actually from the perspective above the turbulence, as I suggest here, on a godly perspective. So that was life-changing for me, actually, in so much as I had to heal from a lot of turbulence of past family pain. I've had 3 hips replaced, and you go, hang on a minute, you've only got 2. Yeah, that's in there. I've had to learn to walk over and over again numerous times, and I've written that book to give hope to, and hence my sweatshirt that I was given, as you can see here. That's my message, really, that yes, all things may appear hopeless, but actually when we're walking hand in hand with our God creator and we view things from his perspective, it's a different ball game. It really is. And he's taught me that actually he has, Romans 8:28 says that there is purpose for those that love him and trust him, and he uses them for his purpose. And it's not always about us. It's generally to heal us to then benefit someone else.
So what types of lies did you tell yourself in the past?
I told myself I wasn't wanted. I told myself I wasn't loved. I wasn't worthy of love. They were the main things, really, because of what happened as a child. And I look at, sadly, for my dear sweet mother, who I love immensely. She's 87, and she still at times is imprisoned in her mind and in her thinking that she isn't enough. And it was from what she overheard her mother say. And what I try to get my reader to do, which is what I have done, is to stop and pause and go back into those places. I liken it to what I learned from Da Vinci, actually. He said, if we go into the dark chasms of our life, and when light illuminates in there, you will find life. Pretty powerful stuff, yeah. But it takes a lot of courage, and it takes honesty. It's really hard sometimes to be honest because of fear, I believe, from my experience anyway. And fear can be like a shadow, right? So if you shine the light on my book, the shadow will be greater than that wall. And sometimes that's what fear does to us, right? The actual thing that we're afraid of has now become the shadow, and it can freeze us, demobilizes us, paralyzes us. And so, it's hard to go into those dark places. It's painful. I liken it to this. Until we stop, face, and heal the wounds of our past, they will continue to bleed, leaving a stain on our lives. So I have scars from surgeries, right? From when I've had hip replacements and I've had knee surgery, etc. But these are scars. And to me, and I write it, there's a chapter on this in here. I write about the victory of a scar versus the pain and the damage of a scab that you pick at and it bleeds and it never heals. And so that has been a real powerful thing for me to process and to learn who I truly am and put away the lies. How do you spell believe?
Well, B-L-I-E-F.
B-E-L-I-E-V-E. So what lie is hidden in what you believe? It's really worth examining. And this is what I was able to do. I went back in time and I examined some of these things that I believe or thought I believed. And Andy Stanley puts it really well. What you believe, you act on, and then there's your outcome. So in life, sometimes subconsciously, we are doing action, outcome, and wondering why the outcomes never change without actually going back to the beginning, do, re, mi. Let's start at the very beginning. Hang on a minute. What do I really believe here? And you may be shocked.
Where did this insight come from?
Let's start at the beginning. I use basic instruction before leaving Earth as my authority. And you know what that is? It's the good book. And you can see my good book's falling apart. It's the Bible. And I think it was Rick Warren said that if your Bible's falling apart, hopefully you aren't. I lean into this as my authority every day. It is called the living word because I believe with all my heart, and my experience has been that he is alive, he is living. You read through my book and every chapter, it's only little, each chapter is very little, but there's a little golden thread there that God is there. Jesus came as God with skin on because he loves us that much. He wants us healed. He wants us to live like exceedingly abundantly beyond what we would ever imagine, dream, or pray for. You know, it's in Ephesians 3:20. And, you know, he says to us, test me, come to me, seek me with all your heart. And if you do, you will find me. And that's what I did over the process. And he's taken me back. He took me back to those scary places. He said, come on, let's go back to that prison cell of your mind and the broken bits in your heart, and let me mend what is broken. Because he wanted me to fly above the turbulence of my past. And it's incredible. That's all I can say. It just is certain living hope. Yeah. So there's lots of things that have shaped that. I won't say, you know, God is in all sorts of places. He's in people. He's in podcasts like we're listening, you know, we're involved in here. He's in creation. I look out the window and see the most glorious sunrise. There's a lot to have inspiration from if we just slow down.
How do you think people can learn to begin to slow down?
It comes with choice. My book talks about that very strongly, highlighted on the back, actually. I say, knowing we have choices changes everything. Understanding the power of our response is key. So it starts with ourselves. It starts with being intentional. It starts with choice.
When did you start giving yourself choice?
As I stopped and reflected, it was early. And it's actually, I think I write about it in the first chapter. Because of this dysfunction of my family, there was this given day where there was a family meeting that I was not invited to. There was an empty seat at the table, but I wasn't there. But I overheard, what are we going to do with her? And my sister put her hand up and said, we'll have her. That's she and her ex-husband at the time, well, her husband at the time. And that's, I think, when I really lent into the understanding of choice. I realized I had been given a chance and I chose to take it with all that I had. And I think really through the process of writing, and I'd encourage people to journal and start doing it today. It's really easy. I learned to do it in the cracks of life. You know, you're sitting in the waiting room at the hospital or the doctor's or the dentist, or you're sitting at the lights or something, and something may come into your mind. Maybe just write it down or speak it into your phone or something. It can be a little golden nugget that has entered your mind that is perhaps a segue into something better. Or if you think these thoughts and you stop and then you examine and you write and then you look, and then what happens is through that process, you can actually see what you're thinking and you go, oh my gosh, really? No, that's not true. Or, wow, that's powerful. And then from there, you make another choice. I have another chapter here about what you need to take as you travel. And one of them is, you know, on a long flight or bus ride or even in the city. I live in Chicago. People have got noise cancelling headphones in, right? We all walk around listening to something. So again, you have choice. What are you choosing to listen to? What's your playlist? Who are you listening to? So I go a little bit deeper on that, but again, I liken it to being the air traffic controller. Like, we have all these things coming into us constantly. Marketing, you know, is just crazy. Every other minute you've got something hitting you, right? Even on your computer, you know, you can see an ad popping up, or your phone goes beep, or your Apple phone goes beep, or, you know, you're constantly being bombarded. And so I encourage people to hang on a minute, just slow down, make that intentional choice. And if something's coming into land and you can, you know, we're sensory people, I think we realize, hang on, that thought's not helpful, that thought's harmful. Be the air traffic controller, send it away. Don't let that thing land. Don't let it then consume your thinking and your thoughts to then believe it, to then acting on it, and then going, how did I end up here? Wow.
So how do we consume our minds with the right things?
It comes back to choice. Yeah. So we can get into a rhythm. I've just done a program at our church actually called Rooted, and was encouraging us to get into a rhythm of exactly that. What do you start your day with? Well, I start my day with daily hope. I don't need to turn on the news and be daily discouraged or daily dose of fear. I start with daily hope is one that I listen to and read. I listen, I read, and you write. And I believe they say when you do that process, you absorb it so much better. And then you can actually do the full thing. You can then speak it, because when you then speak it, it does something with the neuro pathways I've heard in your brain that you then actually believe what you just said. So I choose to feed my mind every day with God's word because it's so encouraging. He gives me hope. I have this other book that I just, again, I've got this on my phone and I read it as well. It's called Jesus Calling, and it's in the first person. It's Jesus talking to me every day. And I designed this little thing, and it's called PACT. So I write it at the bottom of my book. So I need to find a promise for the day. I need to find an application for the day, and I need to find a truth for the day. Now, if I start with that every day, and that's my rhythm, I can usually then go on, even in interrupted space. I can then think, hang on a minute, what was the truth of what Jesus told me today? You know, the truth is that he is always with me. Oh, okay, so now I've just heard the worst news of my life. How can I apply the truth of what he's told me? You know, so for me, that's how I can start to my thoughts, challenge my thinking, and use it to empower me each and every day.
At what point did you decide to finally become an author?
Funny question. I didn't. You're like, what? No, I didn't. Our church had a series called Transform, which was incredible. We had just bought some property and we needed to fund this new building. It needed a new fit out. The vision was incredible. And so basically, church pastor was saying, it's all about the perception of what we have as to whether we can give freely and graciously and generously. So if we transform our thinking as to all good things, our money, our health, our wealth, our work, are all blessings from him. And if we have our hands open, then we can generously keep giving because he just keeps giving and it never stops. And I thought, well, I don't work. I'm not sure how I can be giving. I don't know. Anyway, literally, I was woken in the night to say, write a book, write your story. And sadly, I wasn't like Mary in the Bible that says, oh, yes, Lord, here I am, pick me. I'm a bit of an alpha female. I was like, no, that's stupid. What a ridiculous idea. I have no idea how to do this. Like, you got the wrong sister. Like, my sister's educated. She's a teacher. She could write beautifully. And he goes, yeah, no, I've got the right person. I want you. And then I'm like, well, no one's going to read my story. You know, who wants to read my story? And he goes, not your story. History is his story. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I've spent many, many years studying the Old and the New Testament, which are amazing, which are basically just human stories about humans and their lives, and when they've walked with the Lord and when they haven't. And I knew enough to go, okay, well, I hear you loud and clear, best I get on with it, because what he has for us to do, he empowers us to do. So I didn't need to be afraid of the fact that I had no idea what I was doing. And he graciously provided again and again and again, people, organizations, friends. Yeah, it's amazing. So I feel like I got taken into the deep. You know, it's like being a boat that's tied up all its life. It's like, no, go out into the waves and go be a boat. go and experience the wonders of the unknown. And really, that's what I did. And it's been a wild ride. It's incredible. Yeah.
Are you self-published?
Yes, I am. Again, and I can't remember how, but I got led to self-publishing.com. Chandler Bolt is the young CEO. He's quite phenomenal young man, and his faith story and his mission story and what he's done is quite miraculous, really. But I bought his book, and it's called Published. Anybody that's interested in writing, I highly suggest you get that book. And then he talked about investing in ourselves. And I had never, as I said, gone to college, university. I'd raised my 5 kids with my husband. But I guess I'd really put myself on the back burner. You know, I was investing in my family, which is quite frankly the most amazing, wonderful thing you could ever do as a mother. I'm feeling very fortunate and blessed to have done that. And I still do, obviously, all grown up. But I thought, no, it's time to invest in myself. So I spent quite some money and joined his self-publishing.com school. And then I went to a writers conference in Austin, Texas. And that also was incredible. Where that led, actually, I met another author, and he is the founder of faceswithnames.org. And he founded this organization over in Uganda helping widows and orphan children. And it was like my dots had been joined. I told you how I loved African books, and then I found myself in Africa, and I saw these little faces that were in the middle of the Serengeti, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're just beautiful. And they had such joy, and they had nothing in my eyes. And then my daughter went on mission, and she went to Malawi and came home with these amazing photos again of these little faces, these little orphan faces. And then I met Eric, and he showed me his, and it was like, oh my goodness, the proceeds of my book are all going, any money I make on this book is going to Faces with Names. And I'm just so excited about that, because he literally, through his organization, is giving living hope to these orphan kids in Uganda. I just love, that's how God works, right? He healed me first. He helped me write this to actually then go and fund kids on the other side of the world. How crazy is that? That is, I just think that's wild.
How did it feel when you started to do these things?
Scary. Yeah, it's scary because that's the initial thought. But then again, because I know my good shepherd, right? I know him well, and he's been with me through thick and thin. Then I'm like, what am I afraid of? This is going to be wild. This is going to be crazy. And then you get tired, and then these thoughts come into your mind, and you're going, what am I doing? You know, like imposter syndrome. You know, it's like, oh, don't be ridiculous. Like, no, this is not going to happen. And so, again, I had to take my own advice and go, no, I'm dismissing that thought. No, I'm not listening to you. And you know, even this week I'm on a global study, and I said, you know, this has been the hardest thing for me. In fact, when I did my book launch, a young man asked me, so what's the hardest part and what's the best in writing this book? And I said, well, I love people. I love being amongst people. I just love being out in the world. And it's almost not quite 6 years in my bedroom, but, you know, I've had to spend hours and hours and hours alone poring over information and learning new things. And that's been really hard. And I still find it hard because I love our conversations with different people on podcasts and different writers groups, but I need people. And physically, it's like, I need people. Where are my people? And sometimes in life that happens, like you have this season of almost solitary, and then the people you thought were your people have dropped off and you never hear from them and you never see them. And it's like, so then there's the next layer of challenge. So it doesn't stop. This side of heaven, these challenges don't stop, but they will. There's a verse, this too will end. And so I guess that's my overarching thing is we need to make a choice. And, you know, I'm not a citizen of Earth, even though guess what? My son, who's a New Zealand citizen, became dual citizen 2 days ago. He's now citizen of America, which is so exciting. He married a beautiful American girl and he's an American citizen. That's awesome. But my dad told me once, we're just passing through. Are you going to be a citizen of heaven? I hope so. And he's gone on ahead of me. And even through our turbulent relationship, and you read a bit more about it in here, I know that all of that will be forgotten and I'll be with my dad again one day in perfect love.
How do you think other people can sort of achieve this perfect love?
We can't. Not the side of heaven. No, we can't. We absolutely can't. It's called agape love, right? God's love for us. He is love. That agape love, no man can achieve that sort of love. We just can't. And I can't expect that of my husband because he can't. I can't. But love is not only a choice, it's an action. It's not just this feeling, oh, I'm in love. Well, what happens when you're, oh, I'm not in love. I'm angry. I'm cranky. You did this, blah. Well, love is a choice and it's an action. So I was just listening actually to my Daily Hope. He's just finished a 40-day series on love. It was amazing. So that perfect love, no, we can't achieve perfect love, but we can certainly choose how to love well. And it starts with action. It starts with surrendering of self. I think Rick Warren says it's not thinking less of yourself, but it's thinking of yourself less. So love does that. You know, when you're in a relationship and the wheels are falling off, you know, nothing ends well when it's all about me. I want this and you never do that. But when we love the agape love, like God loves us, this gracious love, then you change your thought, change your actions, change your perspective. You forget about what you feel, what you want, and then you feed into what they need, what they love, and it just changes the dynamic. And then before you know it, your heart and mind catches up with the action because you see the response of that action. And mostly it's gratitude. It isn't always, but mostly it is. You know, it's hard to, I did a coaching class years ago, and if you're cranky and you're picking up the phone, your voice sounds cranky, but it's hard to sound cranky when you're smiling, right? So it's the same sort of thing. If you put into action the action of love, then bit by bit. Yeah. You'll see what you sow, you reap. I was just reading that in my devotion this morning. What you sow, you reap. So if you want love, how about it's the boomerang effect? Yeah. How about you give what you want, and guess what? You get it back. That's actually another chapter.
So this has been an amazing and excellent interview. And, you know, just to kind of close this off, how can people reach out? And are there any, you know, closing words you'd like to say to the audience?
Yes, sure. So my name's on the screen there. So you can find me on Facebook and Instagram. You type in on Amazon, Carolyn Deck, and my book should pop up. My closing word to your audience is hope does spring eternal. Living hope is found when we choose basic instruction before leaving earth. That's what God wants us to live in abundance more than we even do. You know, his love for us is so almost unfathomable. He wants us to have this abundance of life. So when you choose him and have Jesus as your friend, your good shepherd, you can live in hope and you can live with eternal hope, knowing we're just passing through this life. This too shall end, and our choices matter. What we choose determines our destiny. So I hope to see you all in heaven one day. It's going to be awesome, I tell you.
So do you have a website or a social media platform?
So actually, you can find me on Amazon. Just type my name in and my book will come up. And at the back of the book, actually, are all where you can find me. So on Instagram, I'm just lowercase Carolyn.Deck. On Facebook, it's Carolyn Deck. And then I have an email address. Looking at building a website, I haven't got one yet. But you can email me as well if people want to chat further. Or on Facebook, DM me, send me a message. I'll answer for sure.
All right. Well,
I'd love to continue the conversation.
Yeah. You know, this has been an amazing conversation. I think, you know, this interview has allowed a lot of people to get a brief gist of who you are. So thank you again for being on the show. And I want to also thank the audience here for watching us. I'll be seeing you all next time.
Thanks, Jimbo.
I'm currently working on a passion project that I'm really excited about, but I need your help to bring it to life. We'll be launching soon our very own Jimbo Paris Academy, and this is going to be about aspiring creators and creating concepts. Thank you for your support. I'm sharing free bonus content to supporters, so let's make some amazing content together. Our affiliate partner, LifeWork Systems, focused on helping create a better collegial environment, looking at the mental health of business workers, business employees, and overall bringing the business up. Thank you for listening to The Jimbo Paris Show.